Hi everyone, welcome to CCIE Online, a professional online education platform. I'm Lu Fuxing. Today, we'll be covering the introduction to project management. We'll go over some fundamental concepts of project management. So, what exactly is a project in our daily lives? Is building a railway a project? Building a highway? Constructing a building? Building a park? Manufacturing a laptop? Or developing a mobile app? Are all these considered projects? Yes, they are all projects. Actually, when we talk about projects, we see these, including constructing economic landmarks, or building a Great Wall, or developing the Beidou satellite navigation system. Take the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Developing a vaccine is also a project. Building a cloud platform, writing a book, or even cooking a meal. All of these can be treated as projects. Simply put, anything can be a project. Of course, in other words, every project can be managed. The official definition of a project is as follows. It involves creating something unique, whether it's a product, a service, or a result, through temporary work. There are a few key terms here. Let me briefly explain. First, it can result in a product or a service. It could be a result. For example, say, creating a computer, developing an app. That's creating a product. Building a railway. That's also a product. Or it could be a service. For instance, offering a wedding service, a catering service, like the training I'm providing now. This is a service. So if we're going to offer this kind of service, it's also considered a project. And there's also something called a deliverable. Now, how do I explain this deliverable? I once collaborated on projects with the Institute of Geographic Sciences at the site. The researchers at the academy, their research focused on topics like changes in air pollution levels, glacial melting trends, vegetation cover, and land use changes. These tools can monitor vast amounts of data. They might even be used to develop models, or there may not even be any models at all. It might just be raw data. The results of this kind of research and data collection are still a long way from being used in production. There is still a long way to go, but achieving these results is also considered a project, meaning the government also needs to fund these projects by allocating substantial funds for research and development. Doing research, so be it creating a product, offering a service, or achieving a result, they're all projects. Each project is unique. What does uniqueness mean? This project versus that project, they have their differences, something unique to each. You might build this building or that one, both using clean cement concrete. The materials used might be the same, or you're building this railway versus that one, and using the same group of workers, but each project has a different environment. The specific equipment and materials used will vary. So each project will encounter many unique situations. Because of these unique situations, and because of this uniqueness, uncertainties will arise. Uncertain information can introduce risks to a project. So in project management, our job is to manage these risks. That's why every project is unique, one of a kind. In other words, as the saying goes, no two leaves are exactly alike, just as no two projects are exactly alike. Now, regarding the last point about projects, which is that they are temporary endeavors. What does temporary mean here? I want to clarify a concept here. It means that time has a beginning and an end. Temporary does not mean the time is short. It means there's a start and an end time. This is what we call temporary. For example, the Three Gorges project may have lasted for many years. For example, like the Apollo program lasted for many years. Or when we say we're going to continue to send Shenzhou 10 into space, that may also last for quite a few years. This could take a very long time. Every project has a start time and an end time. That's its temporary nature. Every project is temporary. Now that we understand projects, we know that developing a mobile app, designing a computer, designing a blueprint, or building a building, they're all projects. Even cooking a meal, that's a project. So what is project management? Simply put, project management is about completing these projects. It's the methodology for getting things done. Basically, as long as you have a way to get the project done, that's fine. But why learn a structured approach? A structured approach to project management is because this approach works for most projects and can be easily replicated. You can use this method, and so can others. Some methods are specialized and might work great for you. but not for everyone, that's a possibility. So Willen, this project management approach regarding project management origin was first formalized in the 1940s during the Manhattan Project in the US, the project that developed the atomic bomb. It was then that project management was first introduced. Later, Chinese professor Huo Lojing brought it to China, where it was initially known as the overall planning and optimal selection methods. Then, in the 1960s, the United States initiated the Apollo program. The successor of this program popularized project management, and it swept the globe. So, what was happening back then? In fact, during the last century, the Soviet Union and the United States were the two global superpowers, leading to intense competition between them. As you know, the United States has the Pacific Ocean on one side and the Atlantic on the other, so the US's geographical location is quite favorable. If enemies wanted to wage war, the US had a strong advantage. Invading forces from land would find it difficult to attack, and an attack by sea would be equally challenging. But at that time, the Soviet Union and the United States were in a race for dominance in space, for space supremacy. Whoever could achieve this supremacy would gain a significant security advantage, have a stronger voice internationally. So they initiated this kind of race for dominance in the skies. But during this period, the Americans always assumed they were leading the way. That was until 1957, when the Soviets launched Sputnik. When this satellite was launched, America truly felt the Sputnik crisis. With this crisis, they realized, so we had to find a way to take the lead. But the Soviets had the advantage. First, they could send satellites into orbit. Second, they could send a man into space. And third, they could send a man to the moon. But in that second area, sending a man into space, the Soviets were also ahead. So the US felt a heightened sense of urgency. In the 1960s, their president. And so it began, with many people recruited nationwide. More than 300,000 people were involved, at a cost of $22.5 billion, over a span of more than 10 years. This was the Apollo program. It was ultimately a success. As we all know, Neil Armstrong said on the moon, "One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." In fact, this system, the reason for its success is its ability to bring together so many research institutions and universities with so many people involved. This involves extensive division of labor, collaboration, and coordination, with tasks carried out simultaneously. That's why project management is highly regarded today. In fact, many concepts like this originate in the military. Many things often originate in the military. After proving effective, they gradually transition to civilian applications. So in the 1980s, it had already begun to be widely used in everyday life and in many aspects of work. Our approach is derived from this as well. Following the Apollo program, major schools of project management emerged. One is spearheaded by the United States, the Project Management Institute, and their approach, namely the PMP certification, which is what we're studying. The other is led by Europe under the International Project Management Association. Our approach, so what are the key differences between them? They are actually quite similar with no major differences. It often comes down to who can take the lead and be remembered by future generations, right? So by understanding this history, we can better understand how to manage projects. But did project management really begin then? Actually, that's not the case. Not really. Consider the construction of the Great Wall of China. You've probably heard of this. Many bricks on the Great Wall each had a record on it, stating the kiln that it came from and the worker responsible for it. So if there was a problem with a batch, they could track down the kiln responsible and the worker in charge. This is the idea behind project management, right? So project management, in fact, I'm sure you've heard of the story of Han Xin. Such a story. Liu Ban once asked Han Xin, "How many troops do you think I can lead?" Han Xin replied, "You can lead 100,000 troops." Ban then asked, "And you, how many troops can you command?" Han Xin confidently replied, "The more troops I lead, the better." So think about, as a general, if you tell the emperor that you're a better commander than he is, wouldn't you be digging your own grave? So Liu Ban asked, "I can only lead that many." And you're saying, the more the merrier. Does that make you better than me? Han Xin said, "You have the talent to command generals, while I have the talent to command soldiers. In other words, you are able to lead those generals, while I can manage the soldiers." So the way we manage soldiers is actually like our project management often requires the talent to command soldiers, which means we work with frontline colleagues and lead them to complete projects. This is what we're all about. We're developing this kind of leadership talent. That's what we're here to do. So how do we actually lead? How do we excel at project management? Let's move on to the next sections.